Do you need a dose of healing, of health for mental, physical, and spiritual, since they work together in synergy? And that's also inspired by the verse in 3 John that says, "Beloved, and that's also I wish for you, that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers." So let's get a dose of healing and help each other heal on today's updated Bookstore tour. You're invited on this discussion to see how we can help each other heal for body, mind, and spirit. I am Nurse Anima, certified emergency and mental health, a registered nurse on the front lines for many years and still going. And this Bookstore tour is to give you some resources. There's free videos, and then there's a link to the books for you to help you with healing of body, mind, and spirit. So we're going to start it off with action, adventure, advocacy, and awareness. And how does that tie in with helping each other heal? And then we'll jump into the 8 devotionals for you. So the first one is the Mental Files First 6 Stories Edition by Nurse Ann, which I created in my free time. It's 6 separate stories, but they're interconnected. So I put it in one book of different mental health and life struggles that people deal with, that we see on the front lines, that we see in our own lives, in our families, different struggles that people go through. And then it's interconnected as a drama, and you meet the frontline workers and see what their relationship struggles are, their thought and mind battles, and it's interconnected. That's why it's in one book. It's the Mental Files First 6 Stories Edition, written by Nurse Ann. But you know what? You get to ride along with these frontline workers when they're rescuing those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. But you will have to buckle up, for these shifts are 24/7. It's a compelling ride, and this is filled with danger, action, lots of action, because it was written to be a television drama and or web series with your help. It's filled with danger, action, suspense, romance, fate, and inspiration. And we're going to talk about each of those separate stories that are interconnected after we go over the devotionals to help you with that healing of mind, body, and spirit, since they work together in synergy. But before we do, I just want to show you, it was also made into an audiobook on Audible and iTunes. It was narrated by Drama Simpson, and you're going to feel like you're right there in the action with the siren noises, the different character voices, all the action, adventure, advocacy, and awareness, highlighting what people struggle with and go through, and the frontline workers rescuing those. The Mental Files First 6 Stories Edition, Audible and iTunes. So let's jump into the 8 devotionals that are available for you. Not to mention, there's a lot of free videos of this content to help you and those that you take care of, your loved ones, for health of body, mind, and spirit. And that's at the website nurseann.com. And with an E, you can see the name in the description. The latest devotional is Help Each Other Heal, Poetry Devotional. Because healing of body, mind, and spirit is more readily achieved with the mutual help of one another. Do you agree with that? And in this book, I have a brand new poem, and it's called Help Each Other Heal. And it just talks about how we can reach out and be there for ourselves, for others, getting that healing and blessings, so that people that are going through struggles and feeling burdened down can have that encouragement to lift them up. And it also includes a lot of poems from my other favorite devotionals. The second one is called Healing Storm. A lot of healing, mental, physical, spiritual battles in our life feel like a storm, and going through that healing, that trauma healing, that introspection, that digging into prayer and the word and therapy, all of that can feel like a storm, but it's so worth it. And you may know others in your life also going through those healing storms. And we have encouraged one another. Of course, that's part of helping each other heal. We also need encouragement. I need encouragement too. So part of that, you can follow, like, share, leave your comments as we go, so we can encourage each other. And there's hole in my heart. A lot of times in life, we feel like something is missing. It could be a relationship, a life vision, some struggle that we're going through, and we can feel that sense of a void. So it talks about, in poetic fashion, how to deal with that. And then there's also a devotional with practical tips verses to encourage and inspire you. There's mental battles, because the battle does rage on, sometimes from nighttime until dawn, trying to take over our mind. And where is the peace that we can find? And we'll talk about that. There's quietness, inspired by Psalm 23. There's strangers, just how we get to know other people and what they're going through. There's touch, windows, eye contact, hide or confide, trapped in memories. We talk about people struggling with memory disorders, which can be very sad, and how we can help support them. Single parent, a lot of times we need that extra help in our life, and can be so nice to have people support us. There's battered, which talks about domestic violence awareness and help one another with that. There's notice me. Sometimes we feel unloved or unnoticed. Kindness, generosity, advocating for others, helping others win. That's so important in life. I hope that I can help you win through these videos and these resources. And then it wraps up with healing of body, mind, and spirit. As I said, they work together in synergy. So once again, that's Help Each Other Heal, Poetry Devotional by Nurse Ann. I'm a nurse on the front lines of emergency and mental health for many years and still going. So everyone, for your health of your body and your cells, do you want healthy cells? Get a drink of water. I will wait for you. It's so healthy and important. And then the next one, also recently released, is a Mental Strength Devotional by Nurse Ann. It's to help you, me, us deepen your roots of mental resilience, along with building your faith on solid ground with this life-enhancing devotional. Your mental wellness can blossom and thrive for your exponential growth. Do you want exponential growth? There's so much packed into here. It's a 31 days of focus for growing your mental wellness and resilience. We talk about so much to help you strengthen your mind and just help you have a better life. The first one is amygdala anxiety, otherwise known as amygdala hijacked. Have you heard about that before? When you go into that fight, flight, or freeze, and we talk about ways to get out of that so that we don't walk around in stress and anxiety, and because that also damages our physical health along with our mental health. We talk about authority, taking authority over your thoughts, and there's a lot of good scripture verses in here to help us with that, along with other practical tips. Authenticity versus cognitive dissonance. Do you want to live in authenticity, or is your mind always tricking you? Our minds can be deceived above all else. We're told of that. We also learn how to break out of those boxes of mediocrity and complacency. Brain foods, brain strength, and how to use criticism as fuel for growth. Do you get criticized? Yuck. So how can you use that as fuel for your exponential growth? You'll learn that in the Mental Strength Devotional. And there is a link at my website to the store to get a hold of these. And I price them super low because it's not about even making money. It's really just about helping others break out of struggles in their life and start doing that healing introspection. Your circle of friends is so important. Your contentment, collaboration with others, and brainstorming, dopamine cycles. We can get stuck in dopamine addictions, dopamine cycles that keep us going in circles like we're on a hamster wheel and not making any progress in our goals, our growth, or our mental healing. Emotional intelligence, that is so important to learn about. Forgiveness, gratitude, introspection, letting go, mind blocks, mindfulness, mental strongholds. We're going to learn how to cast those mental imaginations down and get past that. Your mindset, neuroplasticity. Did you know that no matter the labels and limitations on your life, injuries, that your brain is always rewiring and regenerating new wiring, brain power circuits, and just helping us to have that continual healing and growth, especially when you learn and try new things. That's neuroplasticity. And we have prayer, your life purpose. That will help you so much with your mental strength. Resilience. We talk about scripture and especially great verses in here that help us develop that mental strength and resilience. Sharing our learning and our truth and our healing with others. Trauma healing, trauma bonds. A lot of us don't even know that we still have trauma bonds that need healing. And that's one of the first steps in your life to even help yourself to be able to help others, is doing that introspection, that therapy, that learning, that soul searching, that prayer, everything in order to break out of that, to learn what we're dealing with so that we can also spill that on to help others. Victory, wonder, the wonder of life, and your general wellness. So once again, mental strength, devotional by Nurse Ann, and there is a link on the website. And then the last one before that, which wasn't too long ago, is your everyday legacy poetry devotional, because I want you to be able to splash impactful transformation as you go, because your life legacy isn't just for the future, but it's also everyday encounters as we go. It's going to help us tend to the garden of our soul, cultivate a deeper relationship with our Creator, and newness and freedom will emerge. And these blessings can produce joy, peace, and wonder that are going to refresh the lives of those we encounter. Because once again, that inward and outward transformation can spring forth with endless ripples onto the ocean of humanity. And some of the exciting chapters and poems and devotionals and tips in here, it starts with transformation. I wrote a poem about deep mental and life transformation. It starts off with, should I just stay the same and never have a new name? Keep doing things the old way, stuck in the past, afraid of a new day. Or find out what makes me tick, explore the depths of what makes me sick, break up the toxic soil, bubble up the new and let it boil. Generational cycles and bonds of trauma exposed to the light will quell the drama. So there is more, but I'm going to let you check that out on your Everyday Legacy Poetry Devotional. So having that everyday legacy starts with that inward transformation before we can really living out our purpose and helping others. In Isaiah 43:19 reminds us, behold, I will do a new thing, God says. Now it will spring forth. Will you not know it? He will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Do you need a way in your wilderness and rivers and deserts that you're going through? We all need that. And then we jump on to some great ways of transformation, or leaving your legacy is your impact on the world. You don't need to have bright lights and lots of followers to leave an impact, because people are always watching you, especially to see how you live, how you react to the pressures of life. And your inward transformation will help you to deal with that, your emotional intelligence and learning about all that. So kindness, your legacy of kindness, of integrity. Advocacy, advocating for others. And that's mainly what this channel is about. It's to advocate for others, show what people go through and how we can be a part of our own healing and helping others. It's also to help people break out of boxes, to be creative. It's to encourage and inspire you and others, and passing that along to each other. So wisdom, developing wisdom in our life. There's almost nothing better we can learn about except wisdom we can find in the Word, learning from other mentors in our life and passing that on to others. Helping others win, once again. Isn't that a great joy to help other people win? I hope that I can help you win. Truth telling, your self-worth, being a peacemaker, but with boundaries. Authenticity. Authenticity is so beautiful. I hope that you will strive for being authentic in your life. Overcoming. What do you need to overcome? What have you overcome? Leave that in the comments. Share your story. Releasing your gifts. Leadership by example and service. Healing of body, mind, and spirit. And we wrap it off with your faith walk, even amidst doubts that you may have. So that is your Everyday Legacy Poetry Devotional by Nurse Ann. Follow this page, leave your comments, and like it. Share it with others. And then there's the Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. As you go, dare to inspire and bless everyone in your path. This is full of real life stories we encounter daily, and they're filled with struggle, triumph, joy, sorrow, self-doubt, and everything in between. I want you to challenge yourself to discover other stories. There's so many stories in here that I've seen on the front lines of mental health and emergency in my life and just the world at large. We talk about, once again, we talk about single parents. We talk about human trafficking. We talk about domestic violence awareness. We talk about people fleeing from their homeland. We talk about people feeling unworthy and unloved. We talk about homelessness. We even talk about our families, how we can be unique, how some people with disabilities feel less than, and how they can shine and have their own beautiful stories. We once again talk about dementia and Alzheimer's. We talk about helping others win. Of course, that is all throughout this channel and these books and the videos that you can see on my website for free. So Ignite Life Poetry Devotional. And then a lot of people gravitate to this. This was my first attempt at writing poetry and doing spoken word on the videos. Get a drink of water. I want you to have those healthy cells for body, mind, and spirit since they work together in synergy. So I just started doing poetry in the Mental Healing Poetry Devotional. I was inspired by Hosanna Wong. I did write the fictional drama, and then I heard her do spoken word and other people do spoken word. And then I realized that through a poem, lyrics, however you like to write it, that you can tell a story in a shorter time just with the poetry fashion. So I did some of that. I brought it from the fictional drama, talking about the struggles that people go through, homelessness, fighting hallucinations, addictions, relapse, depression, just so much more we cover in here. Some of the titles are Screams of Shame, where sometimes that shame can try to beat us down and keep us stuck in patterns in our life. Sheep Among Wolves, we talk about a young lady fighting hallucinations, homelessness, and just the struggles that she goes through. Man on the Bridge, relapse, addiction, depression. There's so much more. There's mental battles, power, love, and a sound mind, caged to conformity, and puppeted or powerful, where we talk about not letting others dictate us by trying to keep us in a box, by ridicule, by just trying to fit into a certain mold. You will love the Mental Healing Poetry Devotional. It's so intense. We discuss life challenges along with God-ordained courage and healing to help you turn away from mindsets controlled by fear. It's inspiration to step into your true destiny of a faith walk and a purpose-driven path. I want you to live a purpose-driven life. It will change everything. So, Mental Healing Poetry Devotional. Before that, when I first started writing, I did the word puzzles devotional. But honestly, this was so much fun to do. And why, you ask? Because I found new, different, or interesting words, and I linked them to our everyday life and our inner thought struggles, and then included relevant biblical prescriptions to get your dose of wisdom and inspiration so that you can overcome and thrive, offering you hope and new light for your life journey. Guess what else is in here? Medicine for your soul. Do you need soul medicine? And then there's Inspiration Battles Devotional, biblical medicine for real life, also soul searching with a dose of encouragement. Because the battle to stay inspired can seem overwhelming at times, but God reminds us that our faith shouldn't be in the power of people, but His wisdom. So I don't want you to have a life of fear. So I wrote the Inspiration Battles Devotional to inspire myself, to inspire people that I care about, and to inspire you for the struggles. This is an A to Z devotional just filled with, we talk about anxiety, discouragement, entanglements, complaining, bitterness, criticism, and so much more. So Inspiration Battles Devotional. And the last devotional I'll show you, and then we're going to jump onto the fictional drama full of action, adventure, advocacy, and awareness. So the last one is Energized Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit. It's a lifestyle devotional because what? Body, mind, and spirit work together in synergy. So this devotional is designed to propel your total health. Let's get started. Once again, I'm Nurse Ann, a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse. And I want to share this website, these books, just a way for you to get involved. It's not just what I'm telling you. I want to hear your perspective, your comments, so that we can help each other heal. So now we're going to do the fictional drama. I'll tell you about that quickly so you can get out of here. So once again, it's 6 short stories that I created in my free time as a busy nurse on the front lines of mental health and emergency, along with having a lot of other ministry and life responsibilities. But all the stories are in this one book, which is almost free. It's so much cheaper, and it's all interconnected. It is one big story, but each one is divided up because, as I said, it's written to be a television drama and our web series with your help. And each story highlights a different struggle or two that people go through, how the frontline workers help, the church community, the families, and everyone else. And once again, it's so full of action, danger, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration. So this is what it looks like. And once again, I'll show you really quick. Then we'll go over each story on Audible and iTunes. It's the Mental Files First 6 Stories edition, narrated by Drama Simpson. He brought it to life. You are going to love it. Please leave a review when you listen to this audiobook and or ride along on the book club and on the podcast on my website. At the end of each thing that we learn about, I do read you a chapter of that, which is very exciting. So quickly, the first book is called Sheep Among Wolves, which talks about a young lady fending for herself on the street, battling hallucinations, fending off ravenous predatory wolves. You get to ride along with Officer Leon and caseworker Lita. Also, they're trying to convince the man peered on the edge of the bridge not to do the unthinkable. And can they rescue the naive young lady whose mind is being ravaged by frightening hallucinations? Will the paranoid young Julie trust the caseworker and nurses, or will the confused little lamb listen to her so-called boyfriend that she met at the bus stop? And does the lonely caseworker fall for the handsome officer in spite of the nagging red flags? Will she rely on faith or feelings? What about you in your relationships and decisions? Do you rely on faith or feelings, emotional intelligence? Tell us about that. So join the frontline workers as they battle forces of darkness, seen and unseen. And then that leads into the next story, which is the Mental Files Dr. John Doe. And it asks, why is the elderly man running in traffic screaming he's a doctor? So follow the officer, caseworker, nurses in the new ride-along from the street to the health care system. And will Leon and Lita take their relationship to the next level? Mental health struggles, memory stories, thought strongholds rage in this ongoing drama. And what role does God play in the outcome? The shifts are 24/7. So that is the Mental Files, Dr. John Doe. We talk about Alzheimer's, dementia, memory struggles. We talk about thought strongholds, and you also get to see the relationship drama and the thought strongholds of the frontline workers. And the next one is A Tent Under the Bridge. Will the homeless woman let the frontline workers help her find a safer life? And can the new paramedic handle the trauma and drama? Why did the young lady run away again? And once again, will the caseworker be able to trust that handsome officer again? So we talk a lot about homelessness in here, the church, the community, the families getting involved. There's some people that don't want to get involved. It's full of danger, action, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration. A Tent Under the Bridge. The next one is Defenders of the Weak, where you get to ride along on this continuing drama series as the frontline workers attempt to rescue those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. You're going to meet Chandra and see if she can break out of her paralyzing fear and anxiety. Stop allowing the bullies to take over her existence and place her in danger. We talk a lot about anxiety, getting bullied in here. Will she be able to help the stranger with a similar struggle? Once again, helping each other. Or will the opposition take them both down? Will the Frontline Workers Project to help the less fortunate be thwarted by the community and some of the church members who don't want their comfort disturbed? Is the opposition willing to place others in danger to keep their status quo? Strongholds to be broken? A God who is able? The ships are 24/7. Buckle up for this bumpy ride. So that is Defenders of the Week. 2 more and then we're out of here. The next one is the Mental Files Ready, Willing, and Able. We talk about autism spectrum, disabilities, but that how people that are dealing with situations can actually shine, have areas that they excel in, and be the actual heroes in a lot of situations and help others be inspired. So on this one, you ride along once again with the frontline workers, the same frontline workers, the same throughout, like you're watching a television series, on this continuing drama as they discover that problems exist in every type of household, for richer or poorer, and sometimes the unlikeliest of people can be the actual heroes. Abilities triumph over a spectrum of doubt. And will the young paramedic make wise or hasty relationship decisions? Once again, do you make wise or hasty relationship decisions? Why does that mental health nurse get sent to the emergency room? What happens to her? And can the community and church finally accept the so-called different people in their midst? So buckle up for this fictional drama series. Once again, we're going to jump in now to the season finale, which is the Mental Files Out of Control. And I call it a season finale because one day, with your help, it will be that television drama and or web series. So out of control. What's out of control in your life, your mind? So one more won't hurt, or will it? When does a seemingly harmless fun cross into the realm of out of control? What about you? Placing others in danger? And does the entitled patient comply with his treatment, or will he make the frontline workers pay? Do you have entitled people, entitled customers in your life? Of course you do. And will the big event, the culmination of the relationships, you're going to see the big event, or will it get canceled due to that officer's mistake? Can he be forgiven, given the benefit of the doubt? What will reign? New beginnings or old habits? Right along on this continuing drama series, the shifts are 24/7. Buckle up for this bumpy ride, once again, of action, adventure, advocacy, and awareness. See you at nurseann.com. That's Ann with an E, where you'll have a link to all these, the videos. There's also a nurses station tab, a mental wellness tab, relationship tab, and so much more. Have a blessed day.